So when you're crammed into a middle seat right next to the bathroom, flying the friendly skies can feel downright miserable. But one plane maker is trying to make your next flight a little more comfortable. Airbus is proposing a standard seat size for long-distance flights. It would be 18 inches. That is about an inch wider than seats most airlines offer right now, but not everyone is on board. Boeing, which is set to debut a new jumbo jet with 17-inch seats, says the airlines should set their own seat size without industry interference. Joining us now for Marketing Monday is our own money marketing guru, Bruce Turkel. Bruce, I hear you measured your seat. How many?
I did.
You did your seat. What's the size? Because you look very skinny on camera.
Yeah, well, you know what? I do try to keep the weight off, and I had a ruler sitting at my desk, and I just dropped it on my lap, and I hit 18 inches without even trying. So I can't imagine how most people are going to fit into these seats.
No, actually, you know, when we were first reading the story, I thought they were shrinking it to 18. They're saying that 18
Right.
is even sort of generous, and that there are airline seats that are even smaller. But as a passenger, I don't know. I mean, you don't have any control. It doesn't tell you when you're buying the seat what size it is. You're just buying a seat on Delta to go to Florida.
Well, that's exactly right. You're not buying the particular aircraft, or as they call it in the trade, the equipment. As you said, you're just having the airline take you somewhere. Now, if an airline would make that proclamation, our seats are wider, although I'm not sure 18 inches is going to do it, but if they would do it, those of us who fly a lot, I fly every week, we would look for those things. But when you hear that Airbus is doing it or Boeing is not doing it, what control do I have over that as a consumer?
Yeah, I want to bring in Tom Parsons. He's the CEO of bestfares.com, and he follows this very closely, so it is a perfect time to bring him in. And let me ask you, you know, do passengers know, in general, or frequent flyers, do they understand which airline has bigger seats, or is it one of those things that you feel when you're on and then you forget about it later?
Well, I think over the last few years, the biggest difference has been the legroom pitch. The seats, believe it or not, back in 1979, the average seat width was only 16.5 inches on Boeing, and now it's 17. Most Airbuses, except for those on U.S. Airways, are 18 inches. Boeing's about 17. I think what we really miss the most is the fact that I don't think we're getting taller, but the leg room is becoming shorter. I think if you look at 1979 up until now, we're a little bit heavier, and yet our room space is not getting any wider. So I think we sort of feel it either way, but that's why the airlines today, if we see them selling anything extra to us today, it's not with room unless it's first class. It's those extra leg rooms in those other cabins up in the front where they'll charge us $19, $29, or $39 to get more leg room, not with room.
Bruce, it does seem like that there is a moment of collision coming, because when you look around at Americans, we are getting wider and wider and wider. There's kind of no way around it. The seats are getting smaller and smaller. They're putting more and more seats on every plane. And they're saying, I mean, this fight about Airbus pushing for a standard, seat, Boeing is saying, no, actually, we're going to let you order whatever you want. You can jam as many seats on there as you possibly want. So an airline they go, well, I mean, if I can cram in extra passengers, I'm making extra money. You've got to go with that decision. But at what point, Bruce, is there a collision where the seats are so small, but they're, that's the planes they have?
Well, at some point, of course, consumers will revolt. On the other hand, there's airlines like Spirit that have been talking about having standing room only flights where there are poles and people actually have harnesses that clip onto the poles.
Do you believe that would ever fly in America? Do you think anyone would do that? I mean, that sounds like one of those things that you would get hopping from little place to little place in Europe. People might put up with that. I can't imagine Americans putting up with that.
I think it's a matter of money. There are consumers who will save money against all else. And by the way, if your seat is too narrow, it impinges on your comfort, but really it impinges on the person next to you because you kind of take over part of their seat, don't you?
Yeah.
So it becomes a whole issue for the airlines. But there's other things, there's other things they could do. I mean, they could hand out Spanx when the passengers get on so they could put them on. Or I have a better idea. What if they made office chairs 17 inches and make the airline executives sit in them 8 hours a day? Maybe then they would change their mind about how wide the seats should be.
You know that thing that you put your bag in when you're getting on to see if your bag's going to fit under the seat? They could have a seat and you could put your butt in there and see if you're going to make it on the seat. And if you're not going to fit, they won't let you on the plane. I don't know about all that. Tom, you know, let me ask you, it's amazing to me. So the airlines that have the biggest seats and the smallest seats are both Asian airlines. I was surprised to ring Al Nippon. Their seats are only 16 inches for long distance flights. Air China, they have the biggest seats, 21 inches long. Domestically, does anyone stand out to you as having super comfy planes? For anyone who's watching at home and is annoyed about this topic,
I'll give you one little insider
ahead.
secret. I think Delta's doing this too, but American Airlines, their new 737-800s. If you look at rows 16 and 17, they've left the middle seat out. In other words, it's there, but there's nobody sitting there. If you look at the seat chart, so if you're flying a 737-800 on American, you'll have 3 seats across on both sides, but that middle seat is unoccupied, unassignable, and therefore you don't have to worry about that person sitting in the middle. So if, that gives you a little bit more arm room, a little bit more, you know, maybe not a little more leg room, but at least you'll feel, I think, a little bit more comfortable by not having somebody sit in the middle seat beside you.
Without question. I mean, an empty seat, I never see those on planes anymore. I love that. That was the most valuable tip of the day. Gentlemen, thank you so much.